Life is life.
Hello.
Hi
Hi
everyone. Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day, everyone.
and happy Independence Day. Yes.
We all have to do it. We all have to do
Yeah.
it. Happy Independence Day.
Yes.
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 But thank you everyone. Oh, thank you Ayushi for saying that we had
Yes.
got this. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Oh,
Sorry.
she was mocking
But
Mari.
it was like there's a fly. And I'm not like, there was a fly in my face. Sorry.
Anyway,
I'm
this
so
is how
sorry.
this conversation is going to be. It's going to be
Yeah.
us randomly, like just bursting into laughter. But welcome to it. We are so excited to be here today to talk to you guys. Long time back, we came up with this idea of reading partition literature. This actually came about because one, I tried to read a lot of partition literature, and Jyotsna at that point of time was reading partition literature. She was reading Remnants of the Separation, and she was really, really loving it, and I really loved the book. And I was like, oh my god, we should do this thing where we read like partition literature because it was a thing that I wanted to do. But then I was like, won't it be fun if other people also do it with us? So I got in touch with these lovely ladies, and these lovely ladies said, yes, we will do it. And we all read partition literature, and we all put it up on our own respective channels where we spoke about it. And honestly, I feel like it has been a very like transformative experience for like all of us. Um, we've had so many discussions all throughout about just like the things that we've read and the things that we've gotten to know. And it's just been very, very interesting to get to know about our history. So yeah, now today, welcome. We are just generally going to talk about the things that we read and our feelings and stuff like that. But also in the end, we are going to have like a quiz where hopefully you have watched some of our videos. A lot of the answers were in those videos, and the winner, which we will tell you later, not today, but later, will win two books. They will be able to choose two books of the 12 that we have read or wanted to read because I haven't.
We're not going there.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yes.
But yes, okay, let's do like intros just generally in case people don't know who we are. Hopefully, y'all should. But in case you don't, I am Smitty. I am from this channel, Sanskrit, the one that you are on right now. And I read books, read a lot of translated literature as well. Translated Indian literature is something that I solidly like to push. I also like to push Indian literature, which is why we have this initiative of this. And I read two books technically. Um, the first one was The Other Side of Silence by Urvashi Bodalia. That one I would was basically about people, people's experiences. Which who you normally didn't hear of, so women, children, and people on the margins. So that was really, really interesting, and it was very like informative. I would say, however, that that is a little like an intermediary. So if there's a beginner, intermediary, and advanced level, I would say that it is intermediary. And then the next one that I read was Inherited Memories, which was about the partition in the East, because we don't really see that as much. And that one was also intermediary, and it was essentially like stories from the third generation, basically. So their grandparents went through the partition, and we got to hear from them because a lot of them have unfortunately passed away, and we haven't really gotten that information yet. But yeah, both of the books that I read were good, great. Gave me a lot of information, a lot of things to chew on. So yeah, that is me. I've gone and spoken a lot now. So please take
Which
over.
was the whole idea.
Yeah.
Which was the whole idea, basically. So it's fine. So I am Sonali. I'm from the channel The Melodramatic Bookworm, and I also read books. And I read a lot of. I enjoy a lot of fantasy, but I'm thanks to these lovely ladies, I'm going to add a lot of Indian literature, especially partition literature, to my TBR, and that's I think that sums it up pretty much, what I am, who I am as a person as well. And I'm very chaotic. Uh, I'm a very chaotic reader. So yeah, that sums it up. And I read three books. Like, just in the nick of time, I managed to finish reading three books. And one was this book, Ice Candyman by Babsi Sidwa. This is, I would say, this is not a beginner level book. Personally, I feel, because there's a lot of graphic descriptions in here. So I would not suggest this for a beginner. This is about a Parsi family, a Parsi girl and her ayah, and how she comes to terms with her own nature when she and her family are going through the partition of India at that time. This is set in Lahore, so how their experiences come together during that time, that's what this one is about. And then I did start reading an author who I really wanted to read for a long time, but I never ended up reading. So again, a big thanks to them for making me read Manto. So I read his short stories, and his partition short stories are really like, I'm talking about his short stories and I'm getting goosebumps. They're that good, very simply written. This is like beginner friendly, simply written. You get the concept. I mean, one or two maybe you'll have to go Google for a bit and say, okay, what was this about? But you'll find out pretty easily. So this is one that I would recommend. And then another one that was set in East Bengal, which was called Train to India, Memories of Another Bengal. And that is a memoir of the author Malloy Krishnadhar. And it shows his life as a kid, and then how his family went through the partition, how East Bengal was affected, and all of that. So those were the three books. Even I spoke way too much. It's a habit. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so those
It's
were
all
the three
our
books.
habit.
Yeah.
It's
It's
going to be
all
a
of our
constant
habit
trend.
to speak
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. We
So
just,
we should,
the camera comes on, we're like,
exactly. Yeah, we should just stop apologizing for speaking too much, because that is
Okay.
like our brand now,
That's
that we speak
better.
a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm not
Yeah.
sorry for speaking too much. I just spoke my mind. It's okay. Yeah. So that's basically
Yeah.
what who I am and what I did for
Yes.
this series of videos.
Yes.
And
amazing.
Okay.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Huh.
What happened?
No, I forgot ki I wanted to say ki which books I'm planning to pick up.
Oh.
But
वो बाद
okay,
में कर
we'll push
Ah.
that. Huh, we'll
Yeah.
push that.
बाद
Yeah.
में
Yes.
best.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. I am Shruti from the channel Fandom Newbie. So I also read books, and
What a surprise.
yes.
Really?
Primarily, I also, like Sonali, read fantasy, a whole lot of fantasy. That is my favorite genre. And I mainly read fiction. I don't read a lot of nonfiction at all. So the books that I read for this was also, they all three of them were fiction. I think I'm the only one who chose all fiction books. But after seeing everyone else's videos, I'm definitely going to be picking up some nonfiction books from what they have said, because they just sound absolutely fantastic. But the three books that I read, the first one is Clear Light of Day by Anita Desai. This one actually wasn't really a partition book. It was like set during the partition, but it mainly focused on a family living in Old Delhi, who was like slightly kind of vaguely affected by the partition. Like, it wasn't a direct bearing on their family and the family dynamics. But having said that, it was a beautifully written book. Like, Anita Desai's writing is just absolutely gorgeous. It's very poetic, and even though it's poetic, I would say that this book is quite beginner friendly. I think anyone can pick up this book and enjoy it, especially if you like very character based books, which really focus on, which really explore like family dynamics, especially between siblings and that. So, yeah, Clear Light of Day was that. The second book that I read was Train to Pakistan by Khushwant Singh. This one had been on my TBR for like ages. And like, I don't know why I never read it. So this was like perfect. Like, it gave me the opportunity to pick it up and read it. And this is, of course, very, very partition focused. It focuses on, I think it is a fictional village, if I'm not mistaken. Mano Majra. It is,
I
no?
think
I
so.
think.
Yeah, it
Yeah, so
is.
it's a fictional village named Mano Majra, which is on the like
Border.
border of India and Pakistan, and how the partition affects the villagers over there, and also kind of the politics that a few officials play, and again how their lives are completely disrupted because of this event. And it was absolutely heartbreaking, and like it left me in tears at the end. It was, again, it's very, very beautifully written. And again, it's quite beginner friendly, so definitely recommend Train to Pakistan if you haven't already read it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have already read it, but if you haven't, then please read it. And the third book that I read was The Shadow Lines by Amitav Ghosh, and this one is more like the effects of partition and the aftermath of partition. So again, it's not set during partition, but it talks about post-colonial India, and it spans like decades, the story. So it starts in 1939 and ends like in 1979 or 1980. And it talks about how multiple generations of a family, both like an English family as well
Mhm.
as an Indian family, how they are affected by things like World War II and Indian independence struggle as well as partition, and just the things that they go through. And again, it's told through like stories. So yes, Amitav Ghosh's writing is like is so good. It's so good. This one I would say is a bit like intermediate level, but beautifully written, and again extremely emotional, very impactful. There are so many themes running through this book, which is I'm just like, can everyone please read it so that we can discuss? Because there are just so many themes in this book which he explores, which just need to be spoken about. So yeah, that is it. Those are the three books that I read. The one that I recommend the most actually is The Shadow Lines by Amitav Ghosh, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people have read Train to Pakistan, but maybe not everyone has read The Shadow Lines. So my like key takeaway from these three books is The Shadow Lines by Amitav Ghosh.
Hmm. What about you, Sonali? What is the book that you would recommend the most?
Mhm.
If you're okay with reading gore and violence and like proper gore, I'm not talking about like he hit a bullet and he fell. No, not like that. Like proper decapitation level. If you're okay with that, then I would recommend this. But this is intermediate level. This is
Got it.
intermediate level, not beginner friendly.
Yeah.
Got
Um,
it.
but
Yeah.
then again, I also want to really tell people to read this because Manto's writing is, and especially this translation. And thank you
Translation.
both,
Yeah,
Smitty and Joe,
exactly.
for telling
Yeah.
me to buy this particular
Yeah.
edition, translation by Atish Tasir.
Artist
It's
the sea.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are. My recommendation is conditional. Like if you're okay with violence and gore, then this. Not if you're looking for like very beginner friendly ones, then this one. I
Yeah.
would say.
But what's
And
funny though is that Manto stories, I think I read it in like 2015, 16, and there are those some stories like the ones that you mentioned in your this thing Kholo. It's still
Oh
in
my
my head. Like
god.
I cannot let go of that story. Like it's in my head and refuses to get out. It is just crazy.
It's
But
horrifying.
horrifying. And the worst part is, so the book that I recommend is from the two that I read is The Other Side of Silence. Because I feel like, I mean, technically I would recommend all, but I think Other Side of Silence did a really good job in trying to understand different sort of people's perspectives as well, from women and men and not men, but women and children and like the people on the margins, so like Dalits, and there was even like a small little thing about Christians and all of that, which was interesting. So
Right.
yeah, so I would, but like all these things which I had read primarily a lot of like fiction literature, like fiction about um the partition, and then a lot of this was then seen as like, hey, these were based on real facts, like these were things that happened, which you saw then in The Other Side of Silence. So it's like really, really, it'll hit you in your feels, and you will not get over it for a while. But this was reality of what it was.
Yeah.
Like one and a
Yeah.
half year old children being killed by their own parents because they didn't want like them to go through pain and the
Yeah.
partition, and
Hmm.
it's just what it
Right.
is. So
Right.
yeah, so
And
definitely recommend that.
and to add to this, right, like when you read Manto, it's important to like identify that he used to put himself in his own stories. So
Yeah,
Yes.
that kind of, this, especially in this book, like you see that kind of dichotomy with, India and Pakistan, and his confusion of belonging, like he doesn't know where is he from, because he was in Bombay for a very long time and a part
yeah,
of the film industry as well. So yeah, I mean, like you said, like everyone I think should start with Manto. I feel somewhere like
yeah.
Manto is
Yes.
a must read. Yeah,
Manto is a
as
must
that.
read for sure. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of us were even in school taught Manto short stories and all of that. Like at least I was. I remember Toba Tek
Mhm.
Singh. Oh God, really? I don't know which.
Really.
I went to all the different. I did ICSC, CBSC, all of them. So I don't know which one it was.
Yeah.
So
It was
it was
definitely not SSE.
it was
Yeah,
not
it
it.
was definitely not SSC. It was
It was not
ICSE.
definitely not
Yeah,
SSE.
I
Yeah,
think it was
definitely.
ICSE. Yeah, yeah.
But
Agreed.
yeah, like I remember studying Tobatik Singh in school. So I because I remember writing papers on it.
Oh,
So
nice.
That's
yeah.
nice.
So yeah, so I
Hmm.
mean I remember that happening, but like Manto is something that like I always knew of because of that. So I
Hmm.
don't know.
Yep.
But cool. We missed out on Joey.
Yes.
Joey, please go
Yes.
Yeah,
ahead. So
yeah.
sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. Meanwhile, just before I start, someone asked which Amitabh Ghosh should I start with. I would always recommend the Ibis trilogy. That's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's like the best way because it's beginner level Amitabh Ghosh. So yeah, on that. But hello, hi, I'm Jyotsna and from Jyotsna's Bookscapades. And the thing is that I do read a lot of stuff, but I generally concentrate a lot on literary fiction, contemporary fiction, and a lot of prize literature as well. So since a few years, my mindset with respect to reading has been that whatever I read should be able to move me, should be able to like change my mindset in some form or the other. And that's why I started reading a lot of like non-fiction history last year. So this year, I was like, okay, I'm kind of a bit through nonfiction history. Now I want to read more political nonfiction, and I just got into it. Like June was my nonfiction reading month. So the first book that I read, actually, although I mentioned like in my video, I mentioned Indian Summer first, but the first book that I actually read, which is nonfiction partition, is this one, Remnants of a Separation by Anchal Malhotra, and this is a beginner level non-fiction book on the partition. Like if you're someone who's looking for like non-fiction stuff, especially with respect to the partition, this is a very good place to start. It's an easy read. When I say
Hmm.
easy, the language is easy. It's like a
Yeah.
collection of oral
Yeah.
histories, but everything that happens in here just breaks your heart because there were people literally moving across the border. They were being displaced. They did not have anything. Some with just clothes on their backs. And I think one of the interesting things about this book is that it concentrates on the material memory of the partition as opposed to like, memories per se.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, Achal Malhotra has another book coming up which talks about the memories. But this one specifically, like, for example, wait, where's the camera? Yeah, here. So, see, this particular object was her own grandmother's, um, I don't know,
Mantika.
Mangtika? Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mangtika, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, her this kind of breaks your heart. Like this is where you always start, I think, because when you listen to stories about the older generations who went through the time, you actually feel like yes, this is not forgotten. They still have it somewhere at the back of their minds, and they don't want to move on from it. So yeah, this is beginner level, must read. Okay, anything that Anshul Malhotra is a must read, by the way. So I
She's
agree with
so
you,
good.
100%. So the
By
next
the
thing
way,
was,
she recommended this one, which is why I
yeah, she
wanted
recommended that
the
one. Yeah.
sister of it.
She recommended one more, and that's Partition Voices by Kavita Puri. They had a
Hmm.
live yesterday as well. Yeah. So that's there in my shelf. So, anyway.
Same.
Yeah.
We bought it from the same independent bookseller.
Yeah, we bought the same bookseller, yes. And the second one is, so this is, now I don't know like which level would this be. This is not like a higher level anyway, but then this is what you have to read to understand why the partition happened. Like it talks about the partition or the whole independence movement in a very political way, because at the end of the day partition was a political decision, right? So again, like it talks about all of these four players, like front players,
Hmm.
anyway, brain fart. Like all the freedom fighters basically, and all the people from the UK who were involved in the independence, not movement, but the independence referendum, like granting independence to India. And it reads like a thriller. Like if you're someone who likes thrillers but wants to get into like non-fiction, that to political nonfiction, where you just get like triggered that, oh my god, like this is not black and white, this is very gray, then this is the book you have to read. Again, I won't recommend it to beginners. Like if you're starting with nonfiction, partition, like, or independence, this is not the book you get into first. You need to read a lot of books to form a perspective on why the partition happened. And this is one of the best books that I've read so far in that particular genre. And I've read like three to four of them already. So this is the best. And the next one is actually not a partition book, but it's on the 1857 rebellion or mutiny. It's actually a first person account of the 1857 uprising. It was originally written in Marathi by Vishnu Bhatt Godse. The book is called 1857, The Story of the Great Uprising, and it's translated by Mrinal Pandey. So I explain a lot of history with respect to the book, because in 1857, I don't think there were people actually like who, people are very disconnected, right? In that particular year. It's not like how we have the internet. And it's
Yeah.
one person's coming of age story, and his coming of age actually happened because he traveled to Indore for some form of puja or yagna, because he was a poor Brahmin and he wanted to increase his financial prospects. So I wanted to kind of understand where did all of this kind of start from, and that's why I like focused on that book, and also getting that kind of first-hand perspective on what 1857 actually looked like. So yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool when Jyotsna was like, "Oh, I'm going to read a book about 1857." I was like, "That makes sense because that's where
Yeah.
that is called the
Yeah.
first war of independence. That's what started
Exactly.
it all." So
Yeah.
totally makes sense.
You
Yay,
kind of
Jyotsna.
like read how it started and then how it ended.
Yeah,
Like-
Yeah.
and then like
You were
what happened
thorough.
to the people.
yeah, exactly.
Jyotsna had like a full
That's
experience.
what I know.
Yeah.
She is the most prepared of us, to be very
Yeah.
honest.
Exactly.
So
She's
And
a
just
I,
live.
background for everyone. Like
yeah.
me, Sonali, Shruti, towards the end, we were like, shit, we're finishing the book now, we're finishing the book now. Jyotsna, 1 week ago, finished
That's
the book
what.
now.
Cool chilling.
Chilling. She
So
uploaded the video. I am like, I don't know why my video is not getting uploaded. It was
exactly.
two
So
days
the thing
two
is,
days before she messaged saying that my video is now scheduled for 13. I was
yeah.
like,
And I'm like, I
how?
haven't even started reading my books. And this one is like, I have uploaded my video.
best.
Yeah, she's like,
That's what,
Yeah.
she'll
like
get there someday.
we were scheduled to release the things at 6 p.m. And then
Yeah.
Smriti and Sonali like, oh shit, our videos like it's still checking is going on. I don't think we're going to make it.
Yeah, and my checking was happening for 2 hours. And I'm like, why is it going on for 2 hours? Turns out my VPN was on. So it was getting confused. I was like, hey, for God.
And that also Jyotsna pointed out. So she's
Yeah,
like the true hero. She's the true hero of this collab.
she really is.
She is, yes.
Oh, thank
Agreed.
you. Oh my god. My cheeks are hurting now. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Get used to it, Jyotsna. That's fine. This is what's
Yeah.
going to happen throughout.
Yeah.
But, Jyotsna,
Yeah.
what is the book that you would recommend, though, amongst all three of them?
This.
Oh.
This is exactly what I would recommend. This changed my life. I'm telling you. Look, like when I say that I kind of read books that kind of shift my mindset, this just shifted my mindset like tenfold. I was like, oh my god, ye bhi hua, wo bhi hua. I'm like, yeah, I was like that shook by this book. And this is
Hmm.
like my best nonfiction of 2021, I think. Like my best nonfiction. So yeah.
That's awesome.
You have like completely sold Indian
Yeah,
Summer for me. Like
I've watched Indian Summer already.
completely.
It's lying in
Yeah.
my living room. I'm not gonna go out
Yeah.
and get it now, but I have it.
I want a physical copy of it, so I've been like trying to find out. Oh
I saw
Ah,
those stories and I was like, okay, this is one book that I have to buy, and then
yeah.
another one. I bought Remnants of a Separation also after watching
Dude,
those
Reminiscence is too
stories and
good.
all.
I'm telling you in
there's
You
advance,
need
good.
to
Shruti,
read
Yeah.
them.
Reminiscence is
Yeah, yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Like
But
my
there's
problem is trying to find physical copies of these because I want physical copies so that I can actually make notes and like
No,
mark
yeah, yeah,
them.
yeah.
So I've been like
Mm.
trying to find places because I found the physical copy of, I think it was Indian Summer, but it's like some $70 or something. And I'm
it's
just
a
like,
fun.
Oh,
what the hell? Like, why is it that expensive?
Oh
So
my
I'm
But
like
god.
that being
trying
said,
to
it's worth the money. It's worth the money. I'm telling you, it's worth
okay.
$70. Okay. This is a
70.
Okay.
service. Okay, this is literally a
Okay.
service, a national service that this British lady has done. So yeah. Yeah.
Very nice. Cool. Okay, maybe not
I will read.
$70. I don't know. Middle class me, I'm just like
Yeah, even I'm just like ऐसे धक धक हो रहा है
$70 wedding.
$70 सुन के
इसके लिए
Little bit
saving plan
money
start
abhi.
करना
When you
पड़ेगा.
come to India, then you buy the
that's
book
what
and take it and go.
Best.
yeah
But
that's
we
what
have a very interesting question, guys, which is would you say that fiction books hold up to the actual events that took place and how people were actually impacted? Do those books capture the real essence that happened during that time? Very, very, very
hmm.
interesting question.
Question, yes.
What do you think?
uh,
I think they do. I think
yeah,
yes.
They do, yeah.
I think
I
it
think
also
they do.
depends on who has written it. So, like, Manto obviously was like, he was
Was
there
there.
during that time, and so was Khushwant Singh. So, I would trust their accounts of what they write in fiction because I mean, Jyotsna already said that Manto used to put himself in his stories. But I'm pretty sure that, like, at least these two authors from whoever we have read
Hmm.
can give you accurate accounts and fictionalize it
Yeah,
to create, engaging stories. But I would say that they do.
yeah.
At
I would
least
I
these two
agree.
authors. I don't know
I
any
have to
others.
add my favorite of all time, which I feel like all
Yeah.
of us should just sit and read it together, is
Yeah.
Tamas by Bhisham Sahni. So
Yeah.
that book also did a brilliant job of talking about. It's basically about another village of sorts which is on the border, and it talks about how they're all living in like harmony and all of that sort of stuff. And then like these riots sort of get induced by someone at the village. So basically, we
Right.
first are introduced to, this is not a spoiler, Jyotsna. I'm
Yeah,
telling you in
okay. I'm
advance.
still here. I'm still alive.
What?
Now tell the whole world about this. I want people to.
What?
What
Jyotsna
happened?
Yeah,
What
hates
is
Shruti,
it?
spoilers.
yeah,
Jyotsna
Shruti,
Oh,
tell.
hates
me
spoilers.
too. I hate
Okay.
spoilers too.
Even Sonali hates spoilers. It's
I
okay. So
Hey,
hate
yeah,
essentially,
spoilers
they-
with a vengeance,
I'm
but
not
that's
telling
not the
any of the
point.
spoilers.
Yeah.
Essentially, what
yeah.
happens is that
Hmm.
this one person asks for like this Dalit to take a pig carcass, to basically kill a pig and give them the pig carcass.
Yeah.
And this
This is
pig carcass is found on the steps of a mosque. And because of that, there's like all of these riots that break out and all of that stuff because they're like, oh, someone has done this to insult us and basically communities. And through this book you get the perspective of not only Muslims and Hindus but also like of the Dalits, but also of like the English and what they were like dealing with and all of that. So it's really really interesting. And Bhisham Sani himself traveled during this time, during like all of this, and saw a lot of these things. And we get to see various perspectives, right? So it's things that he himself like saw, things that he was like heard of at that point of time. And the best part is like, because now I read this book, right, which is The Other Side of Silence, where you see these real life events. So I saw those in those books, like those were very much there
Right.
in that fictional
right.
like context.
Right.
So yeah, definitely I think that they do. Again,
Yeah.
also I think it depends, especially with regards to partition, I think it
Yeah.
depends on like the people who maybe like if they lived through it at that point of time, if
Correct.
they were like, if they were writing it closer to the time, then maybe it's more like accurate.
Yeah.
more contemporary, then make sure that they are good like researchers and stuff like that
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. Just do your
Exactly, research.
research if
Yes.
you're writing historical fiction,
Hmm.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially one as huge as the partition of India, you need to get your facts right.
That's right.
Otherwise, a
Mm.
lot of stuff is going to go down.
Yeah,
Correct.
Agree.
exactly.
Hard agree. Yeah.
Has it been made into a movie also, Tamas?
It has. It has. It was made
Because
into
I
a. It was
because I
made into a Doordarshan, like you know how they have BBC mini series and all
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of a
Oh.
Yeah.
Doordarshan mini series.
Because
So it was.
A
It's like
telefilm.
Nasruddin Shah, lot of
Yeah.
really cool actors and all were part
Hmm.
of it. And
yeah.
I think it's on YouTube. Like it's a 5 hour long thing. Like it's really really
Wow.
big.
Oh
Yeah,
Hmm.
wow.
yeah. So it's like it was a
I'm going to
mini series.
read that.
So
Yeah.
Tamas, 1000% guys. It's so good, so good. Please.
Yeah.
But anything else to add to this question in
Yeah,
general?
just this that like with fiction's always inspired by real life events, and writers are always penning down thoughts from their own experiences. So you should always like read a good balance of fiction and non-fiction with respect to any topic. And with respect to the partition, yes, the real essence has been captured in fictional books as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. There were some recommendations as well, which were on this. So, for example, Ismat Chugtai was spoken about. Ismat Chugtai is also a great writer who wrote a lot during the partition time as well. So that is also cool. And if you guys have any questions or anything, let us know. There are
Yes.
some others, but yeah. Anything else that you all want to add? I'm looking through the comments right now, but
No. So what was like one thing that stood out for all of you when you were reading these books? So like if there was one like something that shocked you, or like a very important thing that came to your mind when you were reading it, like what is that one thing, maybe like a key takeaway of sorts?
I think
That
for me, oh sorry.
no, go ahead. Okay, that it's not black and white, it's very gray, like everything's very gray,
Yeah.
like you try to pin the reason of the partition on someone, but you cannot
Yeah.
do that. Like
Mm.
that you cannot blame just one single party per se. There are a lot of people who are involved in it, and at the end of the day, humans are a mess. So
Yeah,
here we are. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
think for me, what really stood out was that how chaotic everything was during the partition, how not planned it was at all, and how like people thought that it was just going to be fine, but it wasn't. I think that was something that really, really stood out for me, where it just wasn't thought out, like files
Yeah.
and like pensions and what is going to happen to loans and stuff like that. Just like
Yeah.
simple things like that, just really wasn't thought out at all.
Yeah.
Also just a lot of things like there were promises made that ultimately like people didn't know how to keep those promises. For example, the people who were supposed to come from East Bengal, like the Bangladesh now, to India, they were promised land, but then they were given like lands in low-lying Sundarbans, which were not like good for cultivation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, what were you thinking? Like it just doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
then a lot of other things that really stood out to me was that like we will never hear from of like certain things. Like for example, the women, we will never be able to hear what actually happened to them, because just like from the things that we heard, like the men were always part of there, the women always were made to believe that their voice never really mattered, that
Yeah.
what they have to add doesn't matter. It was also like the whole like society, if anything did happen to them, they didn't want to come out and say something, because like it'll be like the honor being destroyed and sullied and stuff like that. So just like I feel like there's so many stories that are just never going to be heard, and like unfortunately so many of them have already like passed away. So
Passed
like
away. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so you're just never going to know reality and like what actually happened, because even like when they say like 12 million people like we don't know also, like there's just so
The
many people,
number.
it
Yeah.
is 75,000 women, were like kidnapped and abducted and all of that. But there are so many other women who probably just not spoken of at all. So we never
Yeah.
know the actual number. So that was
Yeah.
another thing that really like stood out to me, where I was just like, there's so many that, and I have one more. One more is
Yeah.
sorry, I have lots of thoughts.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
the one more thing that like I feel like we were talking about just generally, and I think we both, I think we mentioned in like our videos as well, was that in terms of like there are no memorials per se and all of that sort of stuff,
Right.
right? And I think one of the reasons also, which like Urvashi Butalia spoke in about in her book, was that it's because you don't want a memory of things that you have done yourself, because it wasn't that violence was propagated against you, but you were also a person who propagated this violence. And
Yeah.
like you don't want that memory of like this is what I perhaps also
We
did.
did. Yeah.
And because like
Yeah.
no one was like doodh ka dhula hua, as they say, right, at that point of time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that also stood out to
Yeah.
me, and I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway of how, like, I mean, it's a kind of a combination of what you said, Smriti, which was that firstly is that we don't remember a lot of things. So unless
Mm,
you've grown up with, let's say, partition stories that a lot of people have,
yeah.
especially who are in those parts, so like Punjab or Bengal, unless you've grown up, like I haven't. So I like really had no idea about, like, what happened before I read this book. And that is like, because even our like history textbooks in school don't really talk about impact. They do talk
Mm,
about, like, yeah, okay, a partition happened and whatever, but like it doesn't really go into a lot of detail. And I think it's exactly for what you said, Smriti, is that nobody wants to talk about what we did,
yeah.
because we also had a huge role to play in, and by we I mean like India. Indians also had a huge role to play in what happened. So nobody wants to talk about it because it is an atrocity. So it's just like, let's just like move on. Let's,
Yeah.
yeah. So for me it was that, it's just that, I mean, I feel like we should at least remember the lives lost, if not anything else, just at least remember that.
Mm.
And for me that was the biggest takeaway of just not having enough information about it, or not having memorials or anything.
Yeah.
Right.
uh,
I must say, for
and
me,
I
I
guess,
have two. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
Mhm.
I'm so sorry.
no, so I was thinking, and I think that it's like, I mean, it is a very gray area also because of that. Like, I mean, because you can say both sides or whatever committed these atrocities. So it is a very, I guess, like it's a topic that hurts. I think whoever talks about it, whoever has gone through it, it's something that really, I don't know, impacts you. So yeah, like I don't know, it's like it's one of those topics where like, in your house you would like not want to talk about it ki, like क्यों बात करना है, like, like let's just so it's like that, I feel, for our country. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm. That's the sad part, no? कि
Yeah.
अपने history के बारे में we don't want to talk because of the various reasons that you just elaborated on just now.
Yeah.
Because
And
Yeah.
it
that's
makes people
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It makes them
Yeah,
look
exactly.
into their own
Yeah.
deeds or whatever they did, and nobody
Correct.
wants to do
exactly.
that.
And just
Yeah.
like look at the way the Germans have done it, though. The way the Germans have done it is absolutely stunning. Like everyone owns that
Yeah.
part of their history, and they're like,
Yeah.
we're going to make sure that this never happens again.
Happens
Like
again.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
why
Yeah.
they have all of these memorials. They talk about it in school. They have like all of this stuff
Yeah.
which is put out there so that like this is never repeated again. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
like in India, this is not spoken about, and hence it's being repeated again by our government.
But let's just also say that like Germany is the only country who kind of has owned up to
Yeah,
things like these. Like
Yeah.
even in
Yes.
the UK, people don't learn
exactly.
their
but
colonial
even
past in
but
textbooks.
even Germany, like they have memorial. Like I've visited like concentration camps and death camps and whatever in Europe. But even Germans are like, if you actually talk to Germans, they're just like, can we not talk about
Uncomfortable.
it? like
Okay.
Yeah,
uh like
correct.
if you
Yep.
actually talk to Germans, whatever, even they are just like, okay. Like I remember this very clearly. This is like a
Yeah.
personal story. My dad had like these clients over for dinner, and I was in 10th standard, and I was studying like World War II was like was what I was studying at that time. And I, for some, I don't know how, like it was just like coincidence that I was actually studying World War II when they had come over. And then we all went out for dinner, and then they like asked me, like, oh, so what are you studying and whatever. And I just like, I mean, I was what, 15, 14 years old. So I was like, I'm studying World War II. And then there was like this uncomfortable silence. And my dad was like pinching me, like, shut up. Like, what are you saying? But like, even that's what I'm saying. Like, even for them, there is like that discomfort to what happened and what they did. So I
Mm.
feel like for everyone, it's like when you commit these things, or not you, but like people in
One.
your history have committed these things, it is uncomfortable for anyone.
Yeah.
It does.
So
It's true. It's true.
yeah.
But well, at least like I feel like yeah, you need to read about it and you need to speak about it at least in your own like comfortable circles at least.
Correct. Yeah.
And as soon as you're comfortable within your circle, then also go out and speak to people who you're not comfortable speaking to.
Yeah.
Because it's important, yeah, like right speaks to left and left speaks to right, so that like
Yeah.
you understand each other's perspectives and hopefully can also change them or whatever is
Correct.
needed. Because
Yeah.
that's needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Neetu
So
has very rightly said we need to talk about our history, we need to accept it happened and learn from the repercussions of such events that can have. Yeah.
exactly.
Nothing to add. It's all
It's all there.
perfectly said.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
But
There's also a bit of love for remnants of separation
yeah.
because yeah, there is the whole thing about sins not really being discussed as well. So yeah, for sure, I
Hmm.
definitely see that. But like the Sindhis, I feel like it was even worse because it wasn't even partition, it was just completely taken, you know?
Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, it was just completely taken and they didn't have any choice with regards to that. And also
that's
like
what.
I when I read the books, right, both of them I read in terms of the Bengali aspect of it and in terms of the Punjabi aspect of it. And
Yeah,
from both of the sides, right, they said that culturally they were so similar because Punjabi culture, be it like Muslims or Hindus, very similar in terms of like what you ate, what you did, blah blah blah. All of that was very, very, very similar. So like when you speak to each other, it's very like hey to Punjabi, like it's the same like dialect and language and all of that.
right.
Similar with like with the Bengalis, right? They were very
Yeah,
like
yeah, I was just gonna say even
Yeah.
Bengalis were they're
Hmm.
very similar. Like
very
I
similar.
when I visited Bangladesh, it was like, I mean, I don't know, like when I visited, apart from of course some cultural differences or whatever, it didn't seem like I was in a different country as
Yeah,
such. Like,
yeah,
I mean, just also in terms of food that I ate, the people who I
exactly.
met. And I went there, and like so this was for the company that I used to work for. We had to actually go to like these middle class, lower sections of society and like wash clothes with them because we were studying perfume and the effect of the perfume in their bathrooms as they're washing clothes and stuff. So it was really like the lowest. Yeah,
Wow.
I had a strange profession, but anyway. But it was like really visiting the lower sections of society. And I visited those kind of houses even in India, in Calcutta, and in North India and stuff. And there was no difference. Like really, like just in terms of the way they treated you, how they spoke. Like I don't know, they were like we are so similar. So
Yeah.
it's like it's baffling how this exists.
Yeah, I think that was the thing
Yeah,
which I got from the book that I read, which was Inherited Memories, where they spoke
yeah,
in detail about not only the things that they remember from the partition, but also in terms of like culture and food and how that plays such an important role. Because, like, for example, they would talk about how the food that we make is still very Calcutta food, very Kolkata,
yeah,
very cooking.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, like the
yeah,
traditions that the Muslims do are still very like very Hindu related because it's Bengali. Like for them, it's just like
correct.
it's
Yeah,
not
Hmm.
Hindu, it's Bengali. Like it's a Bengali
Bengali.
thing to do. Like you have to light
Exactly.
one diya and put it near
Yes.
the. They spoke about it where you light one diya. I don't really know this thing, but you light a diya
Yeah.
and put it near the bride when she comes home. That's a it's
Yeah.
a
Hmm.
traditionally a Hindu thing, but it was just a very Bangla thing to do. So
Correct.
like it's interesting, right? Like how so like similar you are throughout, and how like that sort of that even remains still today.
Correct.
So yeah,
Exactly. And even food wise, I feel like, I mean, in Bangladesh, I mean, I had all the shondesh and like all of that. It's like, I mean, everything was very, very familiar. So,
yeah.
what happened?
Sorry guys, I don't know how to do super chat. Super
Oh,
chat is I just we
you'll
are
have
only on super
to,
Oh.
chat.
yeah,
Super chat is
that
on
that
YouTube. StreamYard पे
you will
नहीं
have
आएगा.
to.
Premier doesn't have super chat, so
Arey,
sorry.
but they
नहीं.
are watching on YouTube, no? They should be able to do. If you
I
put it
don't
But
know.
you
on,
can't.
if
I
you
don't
put
know.
it
I.
on,
Hmm.
नहीं सुपर चैट
Yeah.
है क्योंकि
है है
है क्या?
मुझे एक बार मिला है सुपर चैट एक ही बार
ऐसा क्या?
and
One time.
I realized it was from my cousin. I was so excited कि somebody gave me a super chat and then I'm like oh acha it's from my cousin okay thank you.
But you got super chat, na?
हाँ,
Okay, I have to figure out how to do this super chat thing. But maybe next time we go live, please give me super chat
yeah.
someone.
Yeah. No, but you will have to do this ऐसे वो YouTube monetization
So
से
yeah, YouTube. Say, yeah,
ऐसे
I know, I know.
हाँ.
Now I'm just like fuck it. But
Yeah.
Sonali,
Okay.
please talk if you're
Yeah.
having.
No,
What
I'm
I
just so I'm intently listening to what you guys are saying. I have like I'm just listening. That's all. Like I don't.
uh
I feel like
I
you
know.
added almost everything. You've said almost everything there was to say. I have to agree with the women part, like how we don't see a lot of women being represented, like what women went through during that time. And I see that in Manto stories. Like, exactly what we were talking about, Kholdo, is how what a woman goes through. And that literally is giving me goosebumps from here. Like, proper chills. That is one. And then what I saw was like we know that violence, war, and all of it is unfortunately a human part of life. Uh, Humans are shit, but that's a different discussion
Yeah.
altogether. And yeah, to see the level of violence in these stories, even in the most microaggressive way, there is violence. And to actually read that, it made me so uncomfortable, and it made me shed a tear or two for those people, and more out of helplessness, because we weren't there.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything now, and even if we're there, who knows, we couldn't have done anything also during that time. So to see that and to read that, to see how big of a part violence plays in how humans see their territorial nature. Like humans are very territorial. I spoke about this in my video also, but yeah, it's humans are very territorial, and I
Yeah.
don't know from where that thing comes. And then the second one is how politicians give no shit about civilians. Like you see it in, yeah, the controversy alert. Like it's like I think it's there in every single book that I read, except perhaps Manto. Manto is more of a, he's a very balanced kind of guy. He does commentary, but he brings everything, like the small things in life, the small experiences. He doesn't go. He shows the bigger picture, but from the perspective of a common person, and what they are going through, which I think politicians don't see anything. They took their decisions. हमको, we want two countries. हमको तो चाहिए बस. I don't care how many people, we don't care how many people die. We don't care how much violence takes place, but हमको तो चाहिए. And like Smithy, you said that there was no plan. There's absolutely no plan. Like it was like they had blinders on. All they could see was two countries. That's
yeah.
all. So, and it's
Yep.
very scary also how like nothing has changed. And I think I leave it at that.
Yeah, I think
Uh, I
when
have a
huh.
no, no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I was just gonna add to that very quickly. Shruti had made this comment on one of my videos, on this video only, which I'd put up, which was that she's seen more, like it was 15 months I think that they took for the transition to happen, and like she was like, I see more like time given to like CEOs of big companies. What is? And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, correct,
Yeah. Yeah, like
absolutely,
you're handing over, literally it was called like a handover or a transfer of power process or whatever, right? From the
Oh,
British to like Indians. And it was like either 15 or 18 months, something like that. That is all that was
Yeah.
given. And like I watched a documentary where they basically said that the British just came up with a date. They did like just like ki, like I think it was like 3rd June 1948 or something ki, like till 3rd June मतलब हम लोग को निकलना ही निकलना है, like
correct,
regardless of what is happening in the country, we don't care, we are leaving at this date.
yeah,
So it was just like they just, and it was something else about, I think like, I think either Jyotsna said it in her video or I watched in a documentary, I can't remember, but it was like Mountbatten's success for this would be on how fast he could do it, like how fast he could wrap it up and like chalo
Like,
niklo yahan se, whatever, like
because
yeah. So I feel like that also like had an effect on just yeah, like how probably like mishandled or whatever it was. And then in that same documentary there was this Indian woman who worked with Mountbatten, so she was like his, like she worked in his like staff or whatever.
hmm,
And the way she like said it was so right. She was just like, we as a people are very laid back, we are very like chill. कि मतलब the way we handled it also कि last 2 दिन में हम लोग ने books पढ़े, like it just we are ऐसा ही मतलब we are like this only Indians कि like we are super chill and we will do everything at our own pace. And there it was like the British जिनको like करना था कि चलो 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 निपटाओ ये, निकलते हैं यहाँ से. And
yeah.
then it was like the Indians who were taking it at their own pace and
No,
like
because the
doing
Indians, I
yep.
don't think they realized what was happening. Like that is what
yeah,
every single book that I've read, that's what
yeah,
they kept saying. They're like, we didn't know because no information was given. Because they
correct.
were like,
Yes.
this
yeah,
village, is it going to, am I going to be in Pakistan? Am I going to be in India? Am I going to be,
Yeah.
like, no one knew. So they were
yeah,
like, we
Uncertainty, man.
not,
Yeah.
like, what do we do? Like, they just had no
yeah,
idea. I mean, I can't even imagine being in that situation at that point of time. Like, the only
yeah.
people who would probably say were like people in Bombay and all who were just fucking chilling. They were just like, it's good because like
Yeah,
we're
uh-huh,
not getting, but like the people on the side,
yeah.
like whether when people were doing the like things to see key, like what part is going to get separated, which boundaries, where like people genuinely had no idea.
Hey, you got a super chat or
Huh?
Oh,
something.
Kieran.
How did
Yay!
it
Yay.
happen?
Yep. Thanks, Kieran. Yep.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Yep.
What fun.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Oh,
So, okay,
Amazing.
so to
Smitty
add
just
to
went like,
this,
So you do have super chat. What do you
I
say you don't
yeah,
do.
it's
have?
on. It's
Yeah.
on.
yep.
I think once you
Uh,
switch your monetization on, it, I don't know,
Correct.
sometimes I think it,
If you're
yeah.
on StreamYard right now, Smriti, you'll not be able to see it. But if you go on YouTube, maybe you'll be
Huh.
able to.
Yep.
Pata nahi.
Noise.
You were saying something, Jyotsna.
Okay,
Yeah,
wait.
I was saying, so I was trying to find this thing in the book. So after like the whole thing happened, like there was a new newspaper. I was just trying to find the name of the newspaper in Britain that actually published this. That it's more like in the lines of like Britain, kind of establishes democracy in India, kind of headline.
Hmm.
And yeah, so
Yeah.
that I understand. So like the Britishers specifically, like the people in Britain or the government basically wanted to like do everything quickly, right? That said in a video, right? That
Yeah.
he just wrapped everything in like 3 to 4 months, and that was like the job given to him. That we cannot like handle the colony anymore. It's now your job to wrap everything and come back, and you have to keep us happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, so it was that kind of a situation. And after, like, that happened, it was more like, oh, we established democracy in India, like our colony is like a better place because of us. So
I
yeah,
just
right.
I love how like the British just PR was excellent. They were just like, oh,
Yes,
Yes.
we have come to democratize these people.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
like we're like, okay, we're leaving now. Bye. We've taken everything. Bye.
Have you guys watched The Crown on
Yeah,
no,
Netflix?
dude.
Oh my god,
no.
in the first episode itself or something, there's that the queen is giving this speech in
Yeah,
wherever she is in Africa. I can't remember
Africa.
right now. And
Yeah,
the same thing is like we have made this country civilized and ye wo, and I'm like, भाई तू कौन है?
मारूंगी मैं.
Like
Time
seriously.
machine, time machine चाहिए मेरे को. I want to go back in time.
I feel like if the ladies send us money, I feel like it feels like little bit reparations are happening. Like
Because it's in pounds, is it? That's why.
it's in
Yeah.
pounds.
Like reparation से याद आया, there's
Exactly.
this Shashi Tharoor video in
Oh
which
my
he talks.
god,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
Shashi
Did
Yeah.
you
Tharoor
that
video
one.
of
watch it?
reparations.
House of
I
Commons. Yeah,
haven't
yeah, yeah.
watched it.
It's
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't
great.
watched it.
Excellent.
Very
It is
calmly.
so good. So
It's
good.
Yeah.
amazing.
Very
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
calmly,
it.
he talks about reparations and how Britain owes its colonies reparations, and they shouldn't be really like many ye kiya. They shouldn't be doing that. No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this reminded me of something.
Yeah.
This reminded me
What?
of something. So
What?
there's this book by Prime Minister Boris Johnson's ex-wife,
Oh
Marina
my god.
Wheeler,
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
which is
Yeah.
called The Lost Homestead. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know. So
I'm waiting.
basically,
Yeah.
Look at my
yeah,
face
okay.
and try to understand
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah, so Marina
You.
Wheeler's mother is actually an Indian, okay? And The Lost Homestead is actually a book about, her mother's story, basically. And oh my god, it's such a whitewashed version. Oh my god, like, I mean, like, before moving, I was like, I don't want this book in my life. Like, I don't want this kind of whitewashed version. I put it to the Raddi wala and I came to this house, by the way. So I'm like that disturbed by the book. Like, so if you go to my Goodreads, I have this like huge thing written for the book. So basically, there are like these. So she mentions Shashi Tharoor's speech, right? But then
Hmm.
like nobody can mention that, oh, you're not wrong, like, she
Hmm.
is very diplomatic about it in the book. She's like, oh, like where Shashi Tharoor, like, she says reparations and all dena chahiye, like that kind of thing. And she's like, oh, but India is like doing much better than what it was like ages back and stuff like that. And there's also like Smriti, you don't realize it's alive, right?
It's fine. I do this on my
So,
own channel. It's good. You can do whatever you want.
and yeah, okay. I did not want that kind of toxicity in my new bookshelf. That's the
Yeah.
point why I just gave it away.
Hmm.
So I think the place where I just got triggered and I just stopped reading was at this point where she said, so this is something that in the book she said that her mother had said. I'm not sure, or whatever, whoever had said it, like the Britishers did not do like all bad in India. They gave us the railways and they gave us all of these things and stuff like that. But one thing
Trigger.
that she, yeah, trigger, oh my god, triggering, right? And then,
Mhm.
so one thing that she kind of totally got blindsided was that first thing, the railways were built for the British to like exploit India. First thing, and the second thing being that it was built by Indian laborers. Like there was no Gora person sitting there and took
Yeah.
from the railways, and, like
Exactly.
huh.
Exactly.
So yeah, so my point is, don't read this book regarding
Yeah.
non-fiction partition. Like this is a
Yeah.
The
Don't
law.
very
read.
whitewashed
Don't
version.
read the Lost
Yes.
Homestead, everyone.
Yeah, don't
Please.
read the Lost Homestead.
Thank
Yeah.
You
you.
can read this one. Freedom at Midnight. I've heard it's really good
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Even I've heard this is really good.
Sonali is
Okay, okay.
covering
I
face
have
because
it.
that is the book you're supposed to read. But
Oh,
Okay,
can I
Oh, you
mention
were
something?
supposed to read this?
Yeah,
no, we
yeah.
were
So
supposed to read 3 books. I read 3 books.
Ah,
we
but you
didn't
read
read it.
3 books, na? That's why I thought I
Our
forgot that you had
initial
to read
plan,
this
No,
book.
our
but
initial
this is
plan was
like
to read
600
Freedom at
pages
Midnight.
long. Yeah,
Exactly.
Correct.
You were very
Correct.
ambitious, Sonali. You were very ambitious, I must say,
I was,
to
yeah.
Yeah.
choose a
That's what
600
happens.
page book.
Like I'm like ऐसे उड़ती रहती हूँ, and then something happens like
Yeah.
this. Like at 5:59 p.m. I'm pulled down to earth. It's like shut up, you sit
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I
But
add
yeah,
This
something?
is the most triggering argument
fucking
ever.
whatever
I
you
Yeah.
just
do
like
it now.
I'm
I'm
just
like, मैं
like
घुटना मारूंगी अभी. Like, I'm just gonna fucking
exactly,
punch you.
exactly. This is
Yeah.
the
Oh my
most
god,
triggering. I'm just like
man.
नहीं
Exactly.
नहीं चाहिए मुझे रेलवे. Like if this was the only good thing you did.
Yeah.
Claim to
and
Really.
fame.
and to add to no, not to add to this, actually, I know, I think Sosa said that Freedom at Midnight is a wonderful book on the period.
Mhm.
I think all of us have to read this, even it's there in my shelf as well. But this book, okay, so this lady, Alex von Tunzelman, she kind of tears into the Freedom at Midnight as well, because she calls Dominic Lapierre and Larry Collins the pet historians of Mountbatten.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, yeah. So
Ooh.
I
Oh, I
agree. Yeah.
forgot. Yeah.
Who are the people
When
who she calls pet?
So the
The
Freedom
book
and
who
Midnight,
wrote
authors,
yeah.
Freedom at Midnight.
Freedom at Midnight. Yeah.
Oh,
Dominic Lapierre
okay,
and
okay.
the other fellow.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
was supposed to read Freedom at Midnight, and Joe, one day she messages me saying, "Hey, so you're going to read Freedom at Midnight, right?" I was like, "Yeah." And she tells me this whole thing, and I was like, "I am going to read it, and I'm going to come back to you, and I'm going to talk to you about it."
Yeah. So,
क्या ही हुआ?
so
Yeah.
Good
This
lord,
one is also, it's the era of darkness which has
I'm going to
been
read
hmm,
it.
given to,
mhm.
yeah,
yeah.
TBR.
should read. But
Yeah.
We're
oh
just
yeah,
going.
huh, correct,
What?
correct.
I know.
All of us are just going
Yeah, no, I was reading
because
something
it's
else
true.
that High on Books wrote.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
Railway
a
reminds of
great
that
video.
funny video.
which one?
It's a
The
The
AIB
AI.
one.
yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't watched
I
it
mean,
also.
people involved. Let's not talk about them, but the concept was really great.
it was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
that is true. That is
I
true.
haven't watched that also.
Do
This
you
is
want a train? Does India want a train?
Huh?
Hold on. It's there in that video.
it
Acha.
is there in the video. I love how
Do you
Sonali
want
has
to see?
memorized it only. She's like,
I
I
know.
have. I've watched it like n number of times.
oh my god.
But you
But
should
yeah,
watch it if you
even
haven't.
Yeah.
even in the book that I read, like this was mentioned, Pakistan and the Partition of India by B.R. Ambedkar, and I was like, padega, because Ambedkar.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm
Ambedkar,
reading.
yes.
Just information. Yes,
Uh,
But
me
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Cool. Apart from
Yeah.
that, were there any other things that like really stood out to you during this time? Things that you
I
learned?
had I had one question for Jyotsna because
Ah,
she was the only one who read the most like non-fiction,
non-fiction.
political non-fiction. Is that
Mm,
okay? Like, I mean, we've all spoken about it, about how things could have been better, how like I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
it was really messed up, like in the way that it was handled and everything. But just like okay, is it that now we are thinking like, like how you say hindsight is 2020, which is that okay,
mm,
like now all these years later you're like it we could have done this, we could have done that. Like was
Hmm.
there any insight in Indian summer where it's like at that point in time with the information that they had, was it that they tried to do the best that they could, basically?
okay, so I'll kind of like answer this in two parts. So the first part is that
Yeah.
the seeds of the partition were already
Yeah.
sown in the 1920s. Okay, so that's not like much covered in the book, by the way, the
Yeah.
1920s part, because there was a time when different religions, like owing to the divide and rule policy of the British, different
Right.
religions kind of decided that they wanted like different electoral votes, like they wanted reservations literally. So that had already created like a huge divide. And the population of Hindus was like higher than the population of Muslims, due to which the Muslim League was kind of formed. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like where things were starting. But when it went to like the 1940s, like
Yeah.
everybody had like a personal stake in a lot of things. For example, one of the things that the book mentions is that so Nehru is a Kashmiri Pandit, right?
Yeah.
So he was adamant that he wanted to keep Kashmir like that. But then again, like Jinnah had some other thoughts altogether, that he wants this or he wants that. So to be honest, everybody had like a personal stake in that whole decision or in that whole game. They wanted something or the other. So considering that, if they would not have that, then maybe it would be a different story today. But again,
Okay.
considering that all of this
Right.
started in the early 1920s, where there was this division created and this divide and rule situation that actually happened, that's why we find ourselves here. Like
Right.
the whole kind of I would say it's like a domino effect. Like it starts in the 1900s with westernization and Indians going to Britain to study and coming back like learned people, then moving to
Right.
1920s where these learned people and who are getting into politics, and then to 1940s where every politician has some different idea of what how it should be, but it
Right.
just ending up in a huge mess because nobody was ready to compromise. So
Right.
Right.
you get what I mean? Yeah.
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 Okay.
Also, like, I mean, I was trying to find that particular thing in this book, but what I there were like lots of interviews, right, that people took in this book where they asked people what they thought of the partition and all of that back then and all of that. And there was this one person who said, like, he was like, he's a Hindu himself, and he was like, I understand why the Muslims wanted a separate state, because the way that we treated Muslims was just really, really bad. Because, like, for example, what he said was that we all were friendly and all of that sort of stuff, but for example, if we were walking down the road, and we met our Muslim friends and we shook their hands, or something like that, and we had food in our hands, then our mothers or someone would say like, "Don't eat that food now, beta. Like it becomes spoiled." Like that was just the way it was. Whereas if we bend down to even pet a dog, like this was what was there in that quote where it said, if we bend down to pet a dog, our mother would not say anything. But like for a Muslim, it was so bad. Like you cannot like whatever sully this thing, or like they were like we used to get like Muslim friends over, or our friends, or we would go to Muslim houses. But Muslim houses had separate cutlery for us because they knew that we didn't like to eat in their cutlery because it was non-veg and all of that sort of stuff, right? So they had separate cutlery for us. But when they came home, then we would like not want. We would have to like wash the entire house all over again and just like all of that because like that's just the way it was. And they were like, obviously, like if you treat people like that, where you're like still friends and your buddies and like neighbors and all of that, but then this is the way that you treat them ultimately, then obviously they're not going to feel like welcome in your surroundings. Obviously, they'll want like their own state where they can feel fine. And I was like, makes
The
sense. Yeah.
true.
So yeah, that was one thing that like I'm trying to find it and I can't find it, but it really stuck with me that one bit. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So like emotionally, I can understand.
yeah,
But like I wanted to know more like politically, which is why I'm going to
mhm,
read Indian Summer.
yeah, for
But
sure,
yeah, I just wanted to know from Jyotsna's point of view.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Another thing that now that I've opened it to part, I've written here the hypocrisy
Oh,
um, was was because like the way that we treated, because a lot of the women were abducted right in India and in Pakistan during the partition, and while we wanted the women to come back, the way that we, and I've said this in my video as well, is that the narrative of bringing these women back to India was always about the men's pride and the men's honor, and like that was the whole like narrative about bringing the women back. It wasn't bringing them back because it's a safer environment, or like they've gone there because they've been abducted, or it wasn't about that. It was more like हमारी हमारी औरतें वापस आएंगी and like our pride will be back, and like that stuff is just like really like what is that? It was terrible. So
yeah, someone actually mentioned in
Yeah.
the comments saying that women were looked at as war spoils and not as
yeah,
humans.
Me
And
too.
that, I think, yeah, that's pretty much so.
Yeah. And that's what I
Memorable.
highlighted that also at that point of time because um, it reminds me of it's not just during this time, right? Like when you said war spoils, for me, I was thinking Troy, Achilles. Like, I
Yeah,
Yes,
don't know
same.
why.
yes,
I literally thought
my
the same
God,
thing
yes,
also.
Yeah,
I was like,
right?
that's every war. That's every
That's
war.
every
Which
war.
is,
yes.
yeah, it's not just this. It's
Yeah,
literally
Mm.
every war
This
that
could be a
women are
never-ending
considered as
discussion,
spoils.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
spoiled.
Because yeah, I also thought of the song of Achilles.
Right?
I
and like
mean,
Briareus. Or whatever her name was, I can't remember.
Briseis,
Precise.
Yeah,
Briseis,
Briseis.
Briseis,
Yeah,
Precise.
yeah.
Briseis, yeah.
Briareus
yeah.
is the
Yeah.
thousand hundred-handed one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Huh?
Percy Jackson, Shruti.
I know. That's why I
Oh,
laughed. Because they're both like Greek
Yes.
mythology.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
uh,
Um,
Sita is doing her graduation in history and she's loving the discussion. Aww,
Aw,
I'm so
thank you.
glad.
Glad you
But
joined,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
yeah, and this is another thing that again we see in like all of these stories where there were so many people who helped. Like even the ones
Each
which
other.
like I'm reading right now, which is Inherited Memories, is all about that. Like how there were people who just really wanted to help along the way. Like the Hindus had like helped Muslims and put them into puja rooms to make sure that like no one would go into the puja room at least or something like that.
Hmm.
Or they were people they were hid in like boria, like the like trunks of things. And oh, another thing that why this book even happened was interesting was because of like I think 87 May the Indira Gandhi assassination that happened and the things that happened during that time afterwards with the Sikhs. That was discussed where they were like it feels like partition again
Right.
where this hatred is happening to another community and that's
Hmm.
why like a lot of like the conversation started again where they were like it feels like that again, hence these stories are important. So
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, that's how this started because like she lived through it.
Yeah.
Urvashi Butalia lived through the violence that happened in Delhi during that time and
Yeah, I
just
mean,
took
you have to learn from history, no?
yeah
That's
exactly.
why history is there, so that you make sure it doesn't happen again.
oh,
Oh.
Oh,
That, yeah,
oh wow.
wow, yeah.
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 There was another story that I heard of 1984, correct? 84. 84, wow. Huh.
Yeah, 84.
What,
Where
1984? What about 1984?
Riots,
the
riots.
violence that
The
happened.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
the
okay.
violence. Yeah.
But what I also was like, there are a lot of these stories where, like, for example, where the burqa, when Nitu spoke about the burqa being given to people, right? Like, similarly, there were people who, like, men had to wear burqas to go to the camp because, like, the men were being butchered. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
true. I mean, what you just put up right now, partition literature is very similar to Holocaust literature. It did remind me of that a lot when I was
yeah,
reading. A lot of
yeah.
parallels are like, yeah, you can draw a lot of parallels to that. Hmm.
Oh
Can
man,
I
Yeah.
can I reply to something in the comments? Because something just kind
where
of
what?
caught my eye, but I think
Hmm?
it's so. Someone said, I think one good thing about the British occupying India is after independence, we got really good borders in north, though not in south and the east. Uh, Sir, ma'am, but the thing is that like it's kind of convoluted because we are talking about the partition and why the partition should not have happened. So if that is a
Right.
good thing, then that's not a good thing because there was a lot of violence that kind of ensued, or
Involved, yes.
maybe yeah. And also the same persons commented also English helps now as many are able to speak. We can travel around the world with more confidence that at least someone there knows English. But the point is that the reason why the whole world knows English is because more than 50% of the world was colonized by the UK. So
Yeah.
if you think that, like, it's not like a boon per se, like maybe it's like a hidden advantage, maybe, but then it's not a boon because of the fact that, like, there were even like French also had colonies, right? The Afro French belt.
Hmm.
So there people speak French. Like when
Yeah.
you're colonized by a particular country, you speak the language of that particular country.
Yeah.
Latin
Yeah.
America, Afro French belt,
Yeah.
India, and other countries where
No,
English spoken. So yeah,
it's kind of like a circle, which is that you think now that English is a boon, that everyone speaks it because so many people
Because
were England's
Correct.
colonies.
Yeah.
If it
correct.
let's say that it was India that colonized everyone, then like Hindi would be I don't know, or like I don't know,
or
some other Indian language,
Urdu.
or Urdu or whatever would be like the language that everyone spoken. So I feel like it is because they colonized so many that you
Correct.
think that
Exactly.
English
Yes.
is great to know and that everyone speaks English in the world.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
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 It's
And
become
plus,
cool
Mm,
because of that, not
yeah,
because.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
sorry. Yeah. And plus to add to this, right? Like I think Sonali, like some of us had shared this in our stories, Instagram stories a while back, that most of the countries that were colonized by different powers today are still kind of reeling through that post-colonial trauma, like
Yes.
that post-colonial instability, be it in Africa, be it in Asia,
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to find the uncolonized countries, basically.
Yeah.
Sorry, the colonized countries that are doing good,
Yeah.
basically. Like, yeah, like that.
Mm,
So, hmm,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. I think like for example, the US, they got their independence a long time ago, so they were
Yeah.
relatively fine. Also, they
correct.
weren't really, it wasn't like they had too much of a history before as well.
Yeah.
Also, the people who were
I mean,
there at that
they did have a history, but they
but
destroyed it.
they
It
destroyed
yes.
Like
exactly,
they
exactly.
had
That's what I was like.
the
They
US
killed,
had a
yeah,
history. They
yeah, but
killed
they
it
killed it.
completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
So I
literally, yeah.
mean,
So
yeah.
so you look at those countries and like, but we have achieved our independence like 70 years ago. 70 is
Yeah.
nothing, you know, in
Yes.
comparison of
Comparatively.
like,
Yeah.
in
So
compared to a lot of things. 70 is not really like a long time ago.
yeah.
That's
But
true.
like in terms of the colonized countries that are doing well, again, I feel like it's the global north. So you have like Canada that's doing fine, I guess.
Exactly.
And I guess you still consider Australia as global north, right? Even though it's, I mean, it's
Correct.
south,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
like, yeah,
So,
like basically white, basically
yeah.
white countries.
So they
So,
are,
yeah,
wait, but they
Yes.
still, so they are not like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
typically colonies, like they are still a part of the UK. They still, like,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
identify the
But
monarchy and stuff like that.
Until
Yeah.
the
correct. They
queen, I
still
think
have them on their
once
notes.
Correct.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
once the queen passes away, the current queen, I think they will root for a democracy. I think that's what
Or
it is
something
with
like that.
Australia,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They
basically,
don't
they're
either.
still part. They're still under the queen right now. They're still being
Correct.
on a
In
higher level,
name,
ruled
like
by. Yeah.
just for the like, I mean, not really,
मतलब
but
है
yeah. Yeah.
हाँ है वहाँ पे कहीं है ऊपर.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I did not know this. Did you guys know this? That this was a thing? That there was a story that when US was deciding on a language, English won over German by one vote. I didn't know this. What?
Me
Is
neither.
this even a thing?
Me neither. What?
Can you
Yeah.
tell us the
Yeah.
US has been
Oh,
German?
really? This I
That's
didn't know either.
interesting.
Yeah. Me
Yeah, I
too.
knew that German was a language that was very much spoken because there were a lot of German immigrants, especially the Ohio side, like that
Hmm.
particular
Mm-hmm. That
yeah.
belt.
There were a lot of Germans. And I know that because of ghost hunters. Okay, so yeah, because there was a ghost who spoke German on
What?
totally unrelated, but yeah.
What?
Uh,
I did not expect that. I was not expecting that.
and then I was like, oh, ऐसा भी होता
Exciting.
है ना मैं Google. So I didn't know that, but why one vote is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on digressing from the topic, on Ghost
Yeah.
Hunters, there was an episode where they were investigating this like this bar or this tavern which actually existed when there were a lot of Germans in the area, like in the state, I think it was Ohio mein only, they were investigating. And then there was a ghost who actually spoke German and they caught it on the EVP. And ठीक है, different story, but ठीक
What?
है.
A
I
German
want to
what?
I want to watch this
In
now. I
Ohio?
really want to
Oh
watch
my
this.
god. That is
Tell me
that is
all about ghosts.
amazing.
I'm all for it. Tell me.
Sonali is a changed woman after reading The
I'm
Shining.
changed woman. Yes. So that's why I was like, yes, tell me. German ghost? Yes. I want to know more.
Oh my god. Yeah. So
Wow.
That's
That
amazing.
took a completely different direction than I was
yeah, it
Exactly.
expecting.
did. Yeah.
Oh
But
my god. Oh.
yeah, crazy.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh
So
boy. Yeah.
So then
shall
we're gonna.
yeah,
So I
start.
mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
there is going to be a quiz as well at some point of time, unless we have
Yeah.
anything else that we want to add at this point of
Hmm.
time.
I think I'm
No.
pretty
For me, no.
basic
I
when it
think I
comes to
think
I'm a
German
starter.
I think German ghost is the best way to like
And
nothing we say will top German ghost.
Ghost.
I'm like, I'm still, I'm still reeling that there was a German ghost in Ohio.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Muhlenberg
Uh,
legend. Is that how it's
Yeah.
pronounced? Muhlenberg.
Muhlenberg.
Yeah, I think.
Because they have all those. Oh god, let's not go into the accents now,
Yeah,
please.
German
It's the
language.
U with the U, right? The U with the
Umlaut,
two
right?
dots. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Have
U.
you
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
have you guys seen the like some of these reels or any of these things where they're like, oh, we're making language for the first time, so someone's like, oh, this is how we're going to call hospital, and then like UK is like hospital, and then this is
Ha, I've seen,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen.
Yes,
yeah. I've seen
yes,
it.
yes.
and then they're like Germany, what
Yeah.
are you gonna do? And they're like,
Dude, the German word for pen is like something very it's like
too
Krugenschreigen or something like that. The word for pen. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know
Oh
if this
yeah,
is
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if this is just like propaganda that has been spread, but
No, no,
like
no. Ballpoint pen is called Kugelschreiber.
yeah,
Oh
Kugelschreiber,
my.
yeah.
Okay, chalo.
Fun.
Now let's get into the quiz. Shruti is our quiz master. Shruti,
Yes.
do you
Okay.
want to take over, ma'am?
Yes. Okay, so we have 8 questions, basically 2 per person. And these questions are based on facts that we have spoken about in our videos. So if you have watched our partition literature videos, then you shall be like well equipped to win this quiz. If you haven't, then I don't know. I'm sorry. but but
Maybe your
basically
GK is very good. I
yeah,
don't.
yeah. If your GK is very good, also you should do well in this quiz.
Very good.
But basically, each of us is going to give you like we're going to say the question, and then we're going to give you 30 seconds to answer the question. And the winner of the quiz, like whoever answers the most questions correctly, obviously wins. And we're going to choose one person, and that one person will basically get to choose any 2 books of their choice from the 11 books that we have read. So just out of the 11 partition books that we have read, you can choose any 2 that you want, and that is the prize. So I think it's a very very attractive prize. So yes, so let's start with the first question. So let me get my timer ready.
Tell me.
Also,
Shruti, quiz master.
yes, exactly.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Smriti, do you want to type the questions in the thing in
I
the
will.
comments or somewhere?
Yeah, I'll do that as soon as you
Okay.
say
Yeah.
it. I will.
Okay. So the first question is, when does Bangladesh celebrate its independence? Okay, and your time starts now. Go. When does Bangladesh celebrate its independence? 5 seconds are up. Come on, guys. Come on, come on, come on. 10
But
seconds are up. Come on.
When, as in, give us
When?
the
Give us the day.
Date.
The
date,
date.
date,
The date.
not,
The date.
not
Yeah.
just the year, the date.
Yes, the date. Okay, and your time ends in 3, 2, 1. Done.
And we're done.
Put a done there. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Cool.
Oh, and one more thing. We will take the first answer that you answered as the correct one. So if you change your answer and you answer a second one and that is correct, but your first one is wrong, then I'm sorry, but that will be counted as wrong. You see why
These
they
rules
made me
sound
quiz
familiar.
master? You see why they made me quiz master?
Also, do these rules sound familiar to you?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, so we will take the first
Okay.
answer as correct. Okay, ready? Second question is,
Second question.
who was the person who was in charge of drawing the country lines or boundaries during the partition? So like the boundaries, who was in charge of drawing those lines? Name the person, and your time starts now. Name
Put
the
that the
person
question
who
on the
was in
screen.
charge of drawing the boundaries. You know the Jeopardy ka music? Okay, and your time ends in 3, 2, 1. Done.
Done it.
Done.
Right. Okay, we have to say
Yes.
that this was right answer or wrong answer also, no? Ideally.
Let's do
No,
that
no,
at
no.
the end.
Yeah, at the
At the
end.
end.
At
At
the
the
end.
end.
Yeah.
Abhinay, at the end.
At the end. Okay, okay.
Huh. Okay, Jyotsna, maybe you can take the next two questions.
Okay. You're timing it, right?
Yeah, I'm timing it.
Okay, cool.
You can read them.
The third question is da, 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 da.
Drum roll, please.
Okay, the third question. How long did he have to make the said lines or boundaries?
In 1 minute.
How long?
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Huh.
How long did this person
Huh.
actually,
previous
have
question.
time? Yeah. Start.
Yeah. Wait, no. Hold on, sorry. My phone locked itself. Sorry. Your time starts now.
Smriti, put that comment on screen, like show it on screen
correct.
so that people can see it.
Oh,
Eh?
damn.
Babysitting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Done.
And done.
Yeah.
Time is up.
Amazing. Very good, guys. I'm so proud of everyone.
Hey, did you write time is up?
Oh, shit. This one just has extra.
Yeah. That's okay.
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 See ya.
Oh boy.
Next question.
Next question.
Okay, so what we need is the full name here. Okay, next question, full name. Who was the last viceroy of India during the partition?
Okay.
Full name.
Okay.
Dude.
3, 2, 1. Go.
The people with the maximum names.
With the best, with the closest.
With the closest.
Closest. Yeah.
Will. Okay. 10 more seconds. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done.
Time is up.
I love his name. Yeah, his name is the best.
I was telling like his name is like Albus Percival Brian Wolfred Dumbledore.
Too many. Okay.
It's like how many
Yep.
names could you
Time
possibly
is up.
have?
Time is up.
Oh,
Hey,
Time is
Literally,
up.
Shruti.
see, it's there. She's written it, I think, Upar. Yes.
did I? I
No,
Yeah,
did
you did. You
actually.
did.
no.
I
You did,
did.
yeah.
Oh, you did, you
You
did, you did.
did.
You
Sorry,
guys
sorry.
are
Okay,
so
okay, okay,
Sorry,
bad.
okay. My bad.
sorry, sorry,
मैं
sorry,
बाप
You
को
were
sorry.
कोई नहीं.
bad.
Okay.
Nobody listens
Okay,
to me.
okay.
Okay.
Last now.
Hmm.
Okay, my question:
Yeah.
when and where did the Partition Museum open in India? The year
Okay.
and place is needed.
Yes. 3, 2,
Oh,
1, go.
The Partition Museum in India, where has that opened?
Yes.
Ideally, give us the
Hmm.
year.
Hmm. Okay. Last 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and your time is up. Nice.
Very cool.
Awesome.
awesome.
This is everyone is just killing it, guys. I must say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like I don't know
Yep.
if you have really watched all of our videos or Googled in them, but like don't. But oh, but someone actually went to the Partition Museum, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
That's
nice.
cool.
Yep.
That's very cool.
Nice.
Bucket list.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
Mhm.
That also to get Kada Prasad also must get. Anyway, okay. The
Huh?
next question, Kada Prasad from the place next to it.
Oh, okay, okay. Haha.
We're like
Okay,
trying
okay.
our best not to like
I
answer
know
it
that's
ourselves.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we will discuss the answers though afterwards.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
The next
Yeah.
question is: are you guys ready? Is everyone ready?
Yes.
Okay. The next question is: which movie is based on Ice Candy Man by Bapsi Sidhwa? I'll repeat. Which movie is based on Ice Candy Man by Bapsi Sidhwa?
3, 2, 1, go.
I actually didn't know this.
Same.
Yeah.
I knew, I
I was like, what
knew.
is this? And Google was like, you don't know? Thank you. Oh, so this.
It's
Good music,
this.
that's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah,
The music is what I remember, nothing else.
3, 2, 1.
I don't
Time is
know.
up. Time is up.
Done.
Done.
Amazing. Okay.
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 Moving on.
Yeah. Last two questions.
Last two
Last
questions.
two
Okay.
questions.
Come on, these are like you need to buckle up for these, okay?
Yeah, these are little toughy questions.
Little.
The
This
toughy
gave me like history exam flashback.
yeah.
Okay. That's true. Like I wasn't answering the questions and I was getting flashbacks. So imagine.
Okay, okay.
Okay, let's go
Last
for
two
this. Okay.
questions,
Yeah.
everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it,
My
Sonali.
first question is what or who is Toba Tek Singh?
3,
What or who is Toba Tek Singh? And your
3,
time,
2, 1, go.
go. Like whoever gets the most facts right
Hi.
will. I know.
Da-da, da-da, da-da.
Suspense music. Dude, when you watch
Okay.
MasterChef
3,
Australia, it literally
2,
comes
1. Time is up.
done.
Done.
Mm.
Mm.
Same. Oh my
Very
god.
nice,
Okay.
very nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Last
Okay.
question of this quiz.
which
The
is the toughest
absolute last.
question.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like you
And
should give little more time for this one, maybe.
Okay, we'll give you
45?
45 seconds. 45
45.
seconds for this one.
Okay. That does not mean you
Hmm.
go and Google, but okay. Think.
We will
Well,
give you hint. It was in Sonali's.
I know.
It was
It
in
was in
Sonali's.
my. Now they'll go and watch it on 2Xpedia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still, they won't be able to complete in 45 seconds.
That's true. That's true.
It was towards the end
Oh
of
my god.
Sonali's video. No, middle. It was middle.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
there.
Okay, ask the question.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the last question is, when was the Sylhet referendum held and what was it? Okay, let me
Sorry.
repeat myself. When was the Sylhet referendum held and what was it?
Okay. 45
And
seconds. Sorry.
no, that's what I was
45
going to say.
seconds. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
सब लोग गूगल कर रहे हैं
नहीं, पर सोनाली का वीडियो तो नहीं देख सकते ना, मतलब 45
हाँ.
सेकंड्स में वही.
Okay, last 3, 2, 1,
One.
done.
Time's up.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
That was amazing.
Yes.
That was like
Very good.
nerve-wracking for us also. It's
Yeah,
not.
Yeah, it
I'm
was.
like, what?
really.
That's not fair. But okay.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
Oh my god,
Okay.
someone's written one full.
Paragraph.
Wikipedia से copy paste. This is Wikipedia का copy paste.
Very good, Joya. I love this. This was fun. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay, should we give the answers to all of them now? Because like I feel
Yeah.
like we should know the answers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think just put in like
Okay.
answers now, so that we know that like answers now.
Huh?
Like
मतलब
round over. Quiz खत्म हो गया बस, वो डाल दो तो everyone put answers.
हाँ, quiz खत्म.
हाँ.
Everyone
Quiz
knows
खत्म.
quiz खत्म.
Which everyone knows क्या? See, people put in answers.
Why
Still.
is
See,
telling
like,
you?
Shaurya saying he got caught.
We have also done a research, Shaurya.
Okay, so the answer why we asked when Bangladesh celebrates its independence is because while Pakistan celebrates its independence on the 14th of August and India celebrates it on the 15th of August, Bangladesh won its independence much later in 1971, and the date that they celebrate it is March 26th.
Yep.
So fun!
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of y'all got 1971. We should have said date also.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people wrote 1971.
A lot of people wrote 1971. So,
Hmm.
correct.
But 1971 में celebrate नहीं कर सकते ना. When does Bangladesh celebrate?
When did
Yeah.
the question they said 1971? The right answer was 1971. When
Which
did
year?
Bangladesh-
When did
did
attain
it get
independence?
Yeah.
Yes.
You get-
Yeah.
Because we celebrate independence every year, technically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
When does and did are different. No?
Grammar.
Okay.
English grammar.
We read.
We read books.
As we all said in the beginning of this live, we all read books.
Yes.
What a surprise. Okay.
What do you
The
do?
next-
I read books.
Correct. What do you do in life? I just read, kids. That's all I do.
Yes.
So book
Yep.
padhta hai. Okay, Okay, the next
Oh,
question
goodness.
was, who was the person in charge of drawing the country lines and boundaries?
Hmm.
And the answer was
Daniel Radcliffe.
Someone wrote also Daniel Radcliffe.
Three people. I think three or four people.
Some people wrote also Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
And someone said, why is everyone saying Daniel Radcliffe?
अच्छा सही
That's
वाला
the
आंसर
right
बता
answer,
दो.
people.
Say
Cyril.
Sir
Cyril.
Cyril Radcliffe.
Sir.
Sir Cyril
Sir.
Radcliffe. Sir.
Sir
Yeah.
Cyril.
Yes.
Sir Cyril.
But I don't think we
Yes.
should even care about the title, so ठीक है.
But
Move
it's
on.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay.
It's
ठीक है.
okay.
Hmm.
Next
Okay.
question, who wants to?
How long
Oh.
did it take for him to do it?
Yeah,
Him.
the right
So how
answer
long?
was 5
5
weeks was
weeks.
given to him. 5
Someone
weeks.
wrote 15 days, and I'm like, oh my god, that would have been a
That
nightmare
would
if
have
he
been worse.
only had
Yes.
15 days to draw these boundaries.
Really just be like,
It's like,
"Sure."
कुछ भी कर लो.
Just imagine how
That
much
would
more
have been a
chaos there would have
nightmare.
been. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would
really.
be-
Oh my god. But the next
Hmm.
question is my favorite answer. Like the next one is my
Yeah.
favorite answer, which is, who was the
Who
viceroy
was
of India during the partition? And the answer is, anyone wants to read this?
Uh,
I'll read it.
We should all say one name. ऐसे round.
Okay, okay. I'll start. Louis,
Okay.
Francis.
Albert.
Victor.
Nicholas,
Mountain.
Ma-
Mountbatten.
Mountbatten.
that would be. Yeah.
Yes.
Or commonly known as
There was-
Dicky Bhaiya. Or commonly known as Dicky Bhaiya.
Vicky Bhaiya,
Dicky Bhaiya.
Dicky.
Uncle Dicky. Dicky Bhaiya.
Vicky
Really?
Bhaiya.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
In the
Yeah,
crown. It is
yeah.
there in the crown.
Oh.
Said
He
this
was
is
called
also-
Dicky.
Yeah.
He
Dicky.
was called Dicky. Yes.
Unfortunate, but okay.
Dude,
Someone even wrote Prince Louis Francis Albert. So it's like, wow.
very nice.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm gonna sneeze
Next one.
Sorry.
Okay.
Next
Okay,
one
next
was-
one was. Oh, I thought because
now.
you were
When and
sneezing.
where did the Partition Museum open in India? And the answer
That
was
was Amritsar. Amritsar in 2017.
yeah.
Yep.
Which is why I said Kada Prasad.
Yeah.
Go to Golden Temple and have Kada Prasad
Yeah.
right after. Best.
Yeah.
From the place next to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dicky Bhaiya is his official name. no one.
No one can say it. So that's how we are going to refer to him from now on.
Are
There's
Dicky
no,
Bhaiya?
Dicky Bhaiya.
पता नहीं
Dicky Bhaiya.
नो
Last Vice of India. Dicky Bhaiya.
हमें चाय की टपरी पे मिले थे टिक्की भैया. We want to have Darjeeling tea.
No. I'm crying now.
Oh, don't cry. टिक्की भैया will.
Yeah.
Okay. The next movie I'm saying. The next question was which movie is based on Ice Candy Man by Bapti Sidhwa, and the answer is 1947.
7 Earth. Yeah. Both answers.
Wasn't Amir Khan was in the movie, no?
Yeah.
He played
Yeah.
He played Ice Candy Man. He was the
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. I've seen. I remember. I think I saw the movie when it came out, but I have no memory of it whatsoever because I think it was.
I have
supposed
not
to be
watched
too
it.
sexy for me.
Never watched it.
So
Too what? Sexy?
Me neither.
there were.
Did you
sex
say?
scenes.
Oh, acha.
There were the book is also like that, no?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's there in the book.
There
Also.
were sex scenes and all in the thing, so then like I was made to cover my eyes and stuff. So I was like,
Of course, yeah.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Uh, Whoever's actually Dicky Bhaiya.
Any Indian Dicky Bhaiya, it's not about you. Please
Yes.
don't get offended.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is who and what is Toba Tek Singh? Sonali, you want to take this, please?
And the answer is a city in current Pakistan, which is the capital of the district also called Toba Singh, which is in Punjab province. That is the very short answer to this.
Yeah. I also got to know this information only in Sonali's
Yeah.
video.
Same. I thought it was a person for the longest time.
Me too. I read that and I was like, at the end of it, I was like, okay, did I get this wrong? I mean, am I getting the story wrong? And then I went to
Yeah.
who is Toba Singh? And then it was like,
Yeah.
acha, Google is
Uh,
like,
yeah.
it's not a person,
It's
it's
not a
this.
who.
This. It's not a who,
It's
it's a what or a
it's a
where.
where.
What?
Where.
Yeah.
Where? Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that's how I was
Okay.
enlightened.
And
And the last question
last
was Sonali, you only take it.
When was the Sylhet referendum held and what was it? It was the answer to that is it was held on the 6th July, sorry, 6th July 1947. And it was to pull the district of Sylhet from Assam into East Bengal. So that was the whole referendum. That was what it was for. So yep, those were the answers to the quiz question.
Amazing.
Yay!
so
Super
yeah, give us a
fun.
few days. We give us a few days to tally everyone's answers, and we will announce the winners
Yep.
after.
On our
Yep.
social, on our
Yeah.
YouTube, whatever, all
Yeah.
of us. So yeah,
Exactly.
correct. So you can make
Yes.
sure that you follow everyone.
Yeah.
Please.
Follow.
That
Please
yeah.
subscribe to all our channels.
Follow,
Yep.
subscribe to all of us because we all have taken. Sonali's doing like. Please,
वो
please
क्या
stop.
था वो क्योंकि सास भी कभी बहू थी.
क्योंकि सासी yes. Yeah, so just this was a great like just initiative on all of us to sit down and actually like do this and read all of these books and give information to y'all, and if like it helped in making you want to read these books, I think we have considered our job done. And
Yes.
also just it was super fun to just like discuss all the things that we had on our minds, and I'm sure that like we'll continue doing this because there will be things that will still be stuck in our brains and we want to discuss. So this is just a place for us to do that and to read books and be happy and also sad because
Yeah.
books make us sad also. It's true.
Yeah. The books are heavy, but yeah, also very enlightening.
For sure. For
Next, do
sure.
one for
Yeah.
Diwali week. Shaurya has said.
Okay.
Like, celebrate all Indian holidays, festivals with us.
Correct. Please come.
That's a
Republic
great
Day
one
pe we
actually.
will do Ambedkar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell him to advance only.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, no, this was
Yes.
super fun. Just generally got to know a lot about things. So yeah,
Yeah.
any other um like if you have any thoughts, the four of you all let us know. Also, everyone who's like listening, and if you have anything that you want to add, please do that. Lajja is a very good book that Neetu has brought up, which I have with me. I want to definitely read it. It's also about the
Yes.
partition, I think 1971 in Bangladesh. So yeah.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I thought
Yes.
that would be cool for us to just talk about the books that we plan to read. Um, like after doing this whole thing, and if there's anything that like came up, like for example, for me, I really want to read Indian Summer. I also really want to read Anis Kidwai, who's this one social worker who did a lot of really cool stuff for like the people in India and women in India, children in India after the partition. And it was basically about the 2 years of her life doing this. So I want to read that. That's called In Freedom Shade, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so yeah, those are the two books that I definitely want to read post this. But what about the rest of y'all?
I have so
I
many
think I've
more.
already said ki first to
Yeah.
this one, which
Yeah.
Hmm.
I heard Joe talk about it, and I'm like, yes, I'm going to get it. I don't. And then Remnants of a Separation. I really want Tamas also. I really want to buy that book, but I'm now on a book buying ban until the end of the year, and I'm like, I want
I
books, please.
I will buy it because
Yes,
I love
but
that book so much.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so those are the books on top, like top most of my um
Same.
TBR, Partition
Hmm.
Lit TBR.
Same. What Sonali said. Those are my three also actually. Indian
Hmm.
Summer, Remnants of a
Lacha also,
Separation,
by the
and
way.
Yeah,
and
I was wrong also about Laja. It was about after the Bagi mistake in
hmm.
Bangladesh. It was in
Oh,
1951.
okay.
But yeah, my three are
Hmm.
the exact same ones that Sonali said.
Hmm.
Those are mine.
Wait,
Awesome.
one
Enjoying?
question.
Wait, wait.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Sorry. I'm so
Hmm.
Wait.
sorry. I keep.
No, once I asked the question and then I'll tell you my, because I just got the book. I just switched on my camera and got a book that I want to
Okay.
show all of you. So, yeah, that's why. Yeah.
I
No, go ahead.
is Amrita
Huh.
Preetham
Yeah,
Pinjar by Amrita Preetham a partition book too, right?
it is. It is. It is. It's
Yeah.
about
So that's also on my wish
women.
list.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that one as
So
well.
that's also one I
Okay.
really want to.
This one as well. Era of Darkness. The one about uh, Shashi Tharoor's speech.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
also would be cool.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What
I
about you,
want to read
Joey?
it.
Yeah, so I have quite a few books. So, Partition Voices by Kavita Puri, Ramchandra Guha's books, because chunky stuff. India during Gandhi, before Gandhi. Then even his Commonwealth of Cricket. Although I'm not a cricket fan, I'm looking for to read it.
Same.
But see, I'm like, yeah, it's about like how cricket kind of became this form of sport for India, right? Because cricket is like an important sport for India and why it's like the topmost
Right.
sport. And we got it from the British. So
Yeah.
interesting. But
Yes.
yeah, interesting. Other than that, there's one more. I think Smithy, you were reading the Sixth River.
The Sixth River. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, the book that I got was this one. This is the psychological impact of the partition of India.
Both
Oh,
Sonali and I are like, yeah. Like,
Get into the camera.
we
Get
are,
into
we are
the
channeling
get into the
we are
computer.
channeling
Yeah.
Smriti. Like Game of Games Smriti. We are channeling. We are
That's
like,
what.
tell me what.
Yeah. So basically, both of these are, psychiatrists, which kind of, so it's
Okay.
borderline academic, this one, and they
Right.
talk about the aftermath or the psychological impact of the displaced people.
Hmm.
So it's written by two psychiatrists. So this is something that I'm meaning to get into as well. It's a bit expensive. It's like 600, but then I'm hoping it's worth the read. But yeah, so
You were telling like Shruti to buy $70 ka fucking book and all, and then 600 rupees and $70. Please tell.
It's a bit expensive, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Correct. So
If
you
it's
tell us
not, you
if
can
it's a
always
good
sell
book.
it.
Did you read it first, Joey?
yeah,
And then you
yeah,
Yeah.
tell us.
I'll read
Ah,
it. I'll read it. Okay. I'll read it and let you know how this one. But
yes.
yeah. But I'm imagining this to be like a bit higher level because it's academic, right?
Hmm.
So
It will take
people who
time. Yeah.
want to actually read about it
Hmm.
should read it. Like starting to you
Yeah.
read these books only. So, okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
She,
Yeah.
Yes.
she's literally like, read it only if you want to read it, okay? Don't read it otherwise. Ultimatum, baby. Oh, but I hope it turns out well,
Uh,
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
sounds
It
hmm.
really
sounds
like,
really
Yeah.
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 Can I just like shout out to all the extremely cute people in the comments who are like, can you do a session for Halloween? Can you do a session for
Yeah.
Diwali? Can you do a session for Gandhi Jayanti? Guys, we love you so much that you enjoy this and like want us to do more. Really.
Yeah.
What Shruti said.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
We will start planning. Don't worry.
Yes, we
We
will
will do
try
things.
our best to
For
do
for
more
Halloween, we can
of
do
these.
my Caddy Cat readathon.
Yeah,
You
which
know
is
what?
super
I'm very
I,
scary.
interested.
I,
Yeah.
I would really want that to happen because Sonali has already converted. We have converted one scaredy cat. We have to convert
Ah,
another scaredy cat
Now
now.
it's time.
Yes.
It's time
I,
for
Okay.
Smitty.
okay, then we will have this
Uh,
discussion.
yes.
So Nali and I are like the two actual scaredy cats will be like, listen,
Yeah.
really odd.
नहीं,
Highly.
but I am a scaredy cat also.
हाँ
मतलब मैं
कब
सुबह
For
को
three
घोस्ट,
scaredy cats.
हाँ
कब
मतलब लाइक बेसिकली
full
मतलब मैं सुबह
Yes.
को घोस्ट हंटर्स देखती हूँ, ठीक है, मैं रात को नहीं देख सकती, सो आई एम
At
स्कैर्ड
least
ऑफ
you
दैट.
watch, no?
the
सुबह
German
सुबह को
the
German
German
ghosts are fine. सुबह को German
रात
ghosts
को
are
नहीं
fine.
फाइन, या
रात
रात
को
को
not
नॉट फाइन,
fine.
नॉट
Mulebergen or
फाइन.
whatever it was.
Okay.
No, but at least you
Yeah.
watch, no? We though are like just keep it away from us.
हाँ
Don't
correct.
come close.
Dude, that Ahad ka music still haunts me. Like
Oh,
I will like
I like goosebumps. नहीं चाहिए मेरे को.
yeah.
Yes, but
But
we will try to
anyway,
do as many of these as we
as
can,
possible. Yeah.
as possible. Yes.
Yeah.
But cool.
Okay.
Anything else? Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining, for
Thank you.
being
Thank
part
you.
of this discussion, just commenting, telling us about books and all of that sort of stuff. It's awesome. It's why we do what we do. But yeah,
Thank
stay tuned
you.
to all of us and check out our channels. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we just generally, apart from like this, also talk about books. And if that's something that you're interested in, then please subscribe and like and share and all of that.
All of
Okay,
that
but
good
for
stuff.
now, we are
Yeah.
going to go. And
Yes.
happy
Yes.
Independence Day
Happy
to
Yes. Happy
Independence
Happy
Day.
Independence
Independence Day.
Day.
And thank you
Chalo,
for joining.
bye.
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 Bye.